This is AEW 360 Live at Advertising Week New York. I'm BJ Smith. I have with me Leslie Wood of NCS. How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. Welcome to the stage.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, there is a couple of studies that were done by NCS recently that were on the 5 keys of advertising effectiveness. Tell me a little bit about those.
Okay, so we really wanted to understand the fundamentals of advertising. And many studies will do a case study, they'll look at one campaign or another campaign. We really wanted to cover the entire spectrum. So we did 2 studies, each with all the campaigns that were available. So the first was looking at sales effect studies. We were looking at the effect that advertising had on sales.
Okay.
We used every study that we had, roughly about 500 studies. And the other study we used on reach. We were looking at reach and frequency, and we used every single campaign that was in a TAR, so it had digital and TV.
Okay.
So every single campaign, and that was like 863 campaigns, so you had all the data available. It wasn't cherry-picked, it wasn't trying to tell a story, it was just looking at what was there.
Okay.
And the key things we were looking at were, what's the value of creative? How does reach impact advertising's effectiveness? What role does targeting play? We were looking at recency, which is having an ad close to when the purchase is made, and context. So what does the venue the ad is delivered in matter?
Sure.
So we're looking at all these 5 pieces, and in 2006 there was Project Apollo, and it was one of the early big single source efforts. And we had measured the effect, these same pieces, and how did they contribute. And we had about 65% went to creative. Okay. About 15% went to, or 20% went to media, and another 20-so-ish% went to other. So we did the same sort of analysis this time, and the other turned out to be brand.
Okay.
Like, it really matters what kind of brand you are. So
That's true.
So if you're a diaper or something, or a beer, or a soda, or something that's bought every week, and people spend a lot of money on, you can actually generate some real sales. Where if you're a brand that's bought once a year, $3 a pop.
Right. There's not that attachment.
Well, it's not even the attachment. You can get somebody to buy a second one. But now you've got another $3 over the course of a year instead of, $20 a week, which can be, the difference is substantial in terms of your payout. So we were looking at the pieces, and we said, really interesting, creative was much less important than it had been. It was still very important, the most important, but much less, and I think that's because...
Don't tell the designers that.
No, it's that they're consistently good.
Right, okay, yeah.
So that there isn't incredibly amazing creative and incredibly horrible creative on TV, but what we saw in digital was the average of the creative was about the same, but it had that much broader spectrum. The thing that digital also has, though, is the ability to play all these different levers with media, targeting and reach and caps and all the kinds of things you can do with digital. So media was more important there.
Let's back up just a little bit and define digital a little bit more. So because there's so many forms of digital.
There are.
What are some of the forms that we're looking at?
So we measure display, we measure banners, we measure video, we measure mobile, we measure, almost anything that can be tracked, either through a direct match with somebody that's registered online, or a cookie, or SDK, or there's all different connections.
Right. So
we measure all of those pieces to varying degrees.
Okay, so we were comparing that creative to the television.
Right. So the creative, I think, in the digital world, people are freer to explore. So you get things that are higher, but you also get a lot of stuff that doesn't work.
Right.
So the spectrum's broader. It has a larger standard deviation than the TV.
Okay.
So we also looked at reach. Reach is more important than ever because campaigns used to be everybody got a 70 and a 3.0. So reach was sort of a constant in the past. And now it's all over the place.
Right.
And some media really focus on reach and others don't. Some advertisers are more focused on reach than others. And what's clear is if you don't deliver your message to a consumer, they can't respond. Like you need a good message, but you also have to deliver it to somebody. And it has to be broad enough to actually change your brand's behavior in the future. It's not, a little bit of reach is not going to do it.
Right. And then that leads into targeting?
Targeting as well. So you'll notice these are all like the fundamentals.
Sure, yeah.
They're all the things that, we have always believed or we've always known were important. And today we've lost sight of some of those basic fundamentals that you want to deliver a message to the right person at the right time. But the message has to resonate, it has to be meaningful. And how you put all that together is important, right? So targeting, interestingly, about a third of the advertisers are targeting non-brand buyers. And they do less well in driving sales. So you're building penetration, but it's a big uphill battle. To convert somebody that doesn't buy your brand into somebody that does is much harder work than getting somebody who already likes the brand to buy it more.
Buy it again, right.
To get a higher share of their wallet, it's easier than bringing a new brand on. So advertising has to work harder, has to do a lot more, it costs more, it's more impressions, so you get a lower return. So understanding targeting, we've given advertisers the ability to target, but we don't teach them a whole lot about the difference of different kinds of targets.
Sure.
And so many went into these very tiny micro targets, and they've got the perfect 2% of the population, but that's all they're talking to. And delivering more mass is really important, and delivering reach. So when we looked at the cross-media reach, we were looking at how much reach did digital add on top of TV. And we saw that for campaigns where the total reach was less than 50% of the population in total, digital under-delivered what would have been random. Like if you were just buying anybody, you would have gotten more reach than they actually did by a long shot. So it's this idea that you need more frequency. You have, fairly high frequency caps against a narrow target means that you're not delivering the reach you need. They're already seeing a TV message and you're not expanding your audience. And digital absolutely can do that. We see at the higher campaigns that digital can add large reaches. It can. There are people who are not easily reached in TV, but the only place we're actually executing that is in the very, very big campaigns. In the smaller campaigns, the digital campaigns are being swamped by television. They're not adding a whole lot to the picture. So we looked at those three, and then there's recency, which is getting your message close to when somebody purchases, and timing is important. And then context. And I don't know that our method for measuring context is really the best.
Okay.
We see an effect, but I think if we had better tools to actually measure the context, where NCS measures CPG products. So, and we were looking at TV, CPG. They usually have one commercial. They have, they don't create a special commercial for a special venue.
Okay. So we have our 5 keys. We've got creative, reach, target, recency, and context. If you could sum it up into 1 or 2 real key lessons in this for the study, what would they be?
remember the basics.
Okay.
Come back to the basics because it's really important to have a good message, to do creative well, to deliver a real solid reach, and to target the people who are most likely to respond to that advertising.
Great. Leslie Wood, thank you for joining me today on the stage.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Very nice to meet you.
Yes, take care.
And we will be back with more at AW360 Live at Advertising Week New York.
Thank you.
Thank you.